Is listings. To be honest, I have no presentation. Today I am here to answer your questions. I think with less than an hour, if I did a presentation and you came here with a very specific ask, I probably wouldn't be able to answer it. So what we'll do is we will answer questions. We'll take inventory of questions maybe for the first 5-10 minutes. And my goal would be to knock out every question that you have. It could be from anything from, I faced this objection at this listing consult, how would you handle it? To, where did you source your last 5 listings? To, it doesn't even have to be about listings. If you feel like there's something that you need help with and we can troubleshoot it in this room, that's the goal today. So don't be shy. What questions do you have? And I'm going to write it down. Yes?
What challenges are you kind of seeing as a listing agent right now to get appointments and then to ultimately get the client, the listing signed?
Challenges right now. Okay. Or that one, just because this one's blocked. Challenges. Oops. Challenge. To get listings? Cool. I don't know if you can read my handwriting, but we'll make sure to answer that. What else?
What do you do if you know you're competing against other agents for a listing?
Great question. Fun question. How often are we competing against at least one agent or more? That should be your assumption every single time. You're always competing. So you want to bring your A game. You want to have a really good presentation. You want to talk about what they want to talk about. You want to answer all their questions. So good question. What else?
What do you think sets you apart from other people doing the presentation?
During the presentation? Okay. You notice I'm going to be very critical on words. During, before, the first call. There's so many segments to it. But specifically during the presentation, correct? Okay. And when we say presentation, listing presentation? Okay. Great question. What else? Anything from the experienced agents in this room? Yes?
Do you have pre-listing package you send out? What's in it?
Pre-listing package. We do. So we'll cover that.
How do you choose your farm?
Choosing a farm. Cool. What else?
Do you do anything different for out of area?
Out of area?
Out of your farm.
Sure. Out of area listings. Cool. Anything else?
What's the future of farming?
Huh?
What is the future of farming?
Future of farming? I think this is a good set of questions so far. I know this ink was going dry at the end, but all right, challenges to get new listings now, what to do when you're competing versus other agents, what sets you apart for a listing consultation, do you send a pre-listing packet? If so, what is in there? Choosing a farm, out of area listings if I do anything different, and future of farming. So if I answered all these questions today, would you guys be happy you attended today? Would there be anyone that is not happy because there's no question? There's a question that you have that's not on the board. No? Cool. Who's heard me talk before or speak? There's been some people in this room that when I was a productivity coach in this office that you're here, so I'm happy to see you. All right, so let's talk about challenges to get listings now. What challenges are you guys seeing and ladies seeing?
People not wanting to give up the interest rates that they have now.
Very, very common. Very common. Let's speak on that really quick, just because I think that is something that you're going to hear often. And I think it relates to a lot of what I talk about within our own team too. And it goes something like this. If let me make sure I get it right. My goal has to be, it's not going to come out exactly, so let me rephrase it if I can. If my goal of what I want to accomplish in the future is more important than the pain of that, subject, which is in this case giving up a low interest rate, then I'm going to be more compelled to do it. Or in another way, if we're troubleshooting ourselves, if the pain of not being able to accomplish what I want is greater than the pleasure I seek today or the pleasure I have today, then I'm more likely to do it. So it's a balancing of priorities, right? Yes, this person or most of our consumers, if they have something to sell or if they're considering selling, they have low interest rates. As an agent, we are not in a position to tell them to do something or not to do something. However, we can help them self-discover what is truly the most important thing for them. If prioritizing and focusing on low rates is the most important thing for them while they set aside their future goals, then we have to bring it up for them. Because sometimes they might be focused on, let's say, even for example, us, we're sometimes focused on the wrong thing, right? Sometimes we're focused on feeling good in the moment, so we cut someone off when we're driving. But is that really the best thing for our future? I think most people might agree as a no, right? So in the moment, we might do things that feel the best. I know it's a totally different comparison. But in a situation like that, for that type of objection, we just have to help them think it through. And I think everyone has a very different tolerance on, like, okay, then where do rates and prices need to be for you to feel comfortable giving up your low interest rate? And what you'll notice then is you have to ask a series of questions, right? Because let's say, what's your average agent going to do in this situation? Let's say you get the objection. Oh, I've been thinking about selling. However, I have 3% at $800,000 of principal balance left. What do you think your average agent does typically?
At what rate would you feel comfortable entering back into the market?
I would like to think that's what the typical agent does, but I would actually think your typical agent doesn't even ask a question. They'll be stumped in that moment and think, oh, shoot, I didn't prep for this. But you should, right? But that's the appropriate response. You should continue asking questions to help them self-discover, is that really the most important thing? Is that worthy enough for you not to do anything in your situation? Your average agent will probably say, oh, yeah, that's true. I talk to so many people out there, and they do have a low rate, and that's why, yeah, you're right, maybe it doesn't make sense to move. But then what's the follow-up to that? When would it make sense to move, right? When is the trade-off worth it? What else is a common kind of challenge that you guys are having right now? It could be objection-related. It could be getting from a first call to appointment, or even just getting the first call to begin with, right? What else is a challenge? I know the question was what I'm seeing as challenges, but I'm just trying to see what you guys are seeing too.
I'd say being not having 10 years under my belt of being an agent. Started and got licensed 2022. So I think when people hear that, a lot of times they're kind of turned off.
Sure.
Yeah.
Let's address that. Is it fair to say that all of us started as a new agent in this room? Or maybe a different room, but we started as a new agent? Great. It's been a while for me. This is oh my gosh, 15th year. I was a new agent at one point. When I joined this office, that used to be the conference room where we held trainings, as a lot of you might remember. And it was before I had a team, and I would just show up to the office, and I would make calls with a gentleman, Joe Polyak, who is a friend of mine that you guys might have encountered before. So we all started there, and I think it got to a point where you go through a shift. At the beginning, the first is people ask you how long you've been in the business because you look young, you act like a novice, or without lack of experience. And I think you will feel compelled enough to make a change, right? If that happens often, if you really want to make an improvement, you're going to go to the second phase of it, which is going to be eventually, people ask me because I know my shit. Because I might look young, but what I deliver to them is so valuable that they question, oh my gosh, like how long have you been in the business? So how do you get from phase one of, let's say, new agent, less experience, to phase two? Just a high level way to think about it is you just have to get uncomfortable with everything you do. I think initially that is uncomfortable because you're afraid that that person's gonna expose you by asking you, hey, how long have you been in business? Truthfully, the reality is, I'll help you think it through, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how long you've been in business. In fact, you could be the best agent with 1 day of being licensed. Because here's why. We often think that being a really good agent is knowledge in the industry, list to sales price ratio, days on market and accounting in the city, all this stuff that we probably don't know. Heck, as an experienced agent, I don't know unless I looked into it. Maybe I'm more efficient at finding this information nowadays because I'm used to using the tools that we have as an agent. However, that is not what people are looking for. People, before they want to hear that you're the expert, before they want to hear the valuable information you can hear, or you can share with them, they want to know that you care for them in their situation. So I'll give you an example. I could have started this presentation with, hey, here's my top 8 things I do to secure listings. Yeah, you've been sold a title of what today's class is going to be about, but if I came here with a canned presentation, do you think it's as effective as if I just asked you questions that you have, right? So if anything, today's class is a display of, if you were talking to a client, in this case, you're my client as a student, and if I have anything to share, hopefully I do, I'm taking inventory of what's concerning to you, and I'm going to help you think it through. So I think as long as you're willing to be uncomfortable every day, little by little, you'll build self-resilience and confidence in yourself to put yourself in a position where, fast forward 90 days, you get that same question, hey, how long have you been in business? I don't know about you, but nowadays, and then midway through or even early on in my career, I was excited. I want you to ask me that question. Give me the question that's tough, because I've been practicing this. I've been thinking about this. I want to be able to address it so I can win you over. If you can go from insecure and concern to excitement and enthusiasm that I'm going to win this, how do you bridge that gap? Be uncomfortable every day. Could be, I really don't want to go tour 3 properties in Burlingame today, but you know what? You've said it in your mind, just go do it. It could be, I really need to prep for a listing consult. I never asked Deason for help. I know he's taken a lot of listings. I don't know if I should bother him. Fuck it, just go ask him. Like, do the uncomfortable thing that you've been thinking about, and then you'll build self-reliance and resilience to be able to carry through. So when you get that question from the consumer, you're going to be so good because you've practiced it yourself. I know that's not like a direct tactic. However, that's at least helped me throughout my career. And trust me, even when I walk through a consult meeting people, I don't know every answer. But maybe you have a way of answering it, like a framework to answer it where you don't need the right answer, right? The right answer is your authentic self of sharing something that that you feel comfortable sharing. Any other challenges you guys are seeing? Maybe the challenge right now is you're not getting as many calls. You're sending out postcards, and maybe in the past, if you've been farming, you used to get a certain amount and you get less right now. Maybe right now is you have objections where you can't fix the situation because guess what? We don't control interest rates. We don't control prices. We don't control their job status. We don't control their own desires. We don't control a lot of things. Here's what we do control. We control whether we meet a person or not and how we consult them. We cannot change their goals. We cannot change their objections. We cannot change market conditions. But what we can do is we can show up, be a really good consultant for them, and whether they decide to sell immediately or later or never, you help them make that decision. I recently signed a listing this week. I met the person in 2018. I didn't have a bad reaction when they told me that they decided to interview multiple agents but decided to rent the house out. Because if I did, I would be a sore loser. Because why does it change the fact that they made a decision not to sell at that moment? But because I still showed up 10 out of 10 for the consult, gave them valuable information, 6 years later they called me out of the other agents that they interviewed, maybe the other agents that they've had conversations throughout the 6 years, to work with us. And that's because when you show up for what you do, you give it your 10 out of 10, whatever that looks like today. Your 10 out of 10 might look a little different from me, 10 out of 10, because I have 15 years of experience, but it doesn't matter. You show up to give your 10 out of 10. What does that version look like? Because that's the best version you can give that day, and you should be happy with that. Because everything you did led up to that moment to give that 10 out of 10. Now, you don't want to feel bad because you didn't practice enough as much as you wanted to, and you showed up 8 out of 10. You still want to give your best effort. Because your best effort, hopefully you can capitalize on the benefit in the future, right? The challenges I'm seeing right now is you're definitely getting a lot less calls, right? The ratio between what you send out, what you spend for marketing, your email campaigns, everything you do, the ratio is much less than if rates were, let's just say, 3%, right? So what does that mean for us?
Work harder, work more.
That might be, you might draw the A to Z, like, all right, it takes more to get a result, I need to do more, right? I actually would start with this. Do you want to work harder? Because here's what I know with leading a team and also just observing agents. Some people are just happy with what they have. So as much as they tell themselves they want to work harder, their actions don't show up that way, right? So, but yeah, it's either work harder or as you hear, work smarter. What does work smarter might look like? Developing better pre-listing packages. Making a bigger impact when you see someone versus sending a piece of mail, right? That's more efficient. There's, it might be working harder, right? If it used to take, let's say, 30 conversations to a conversion to get an appointment, and now it takes 50, are you willing to do 50 within a longer period of time, right? Or if it's 50 within the same period of time, you're just more efficient, right? Not to get too technical, everything's a math equation. If you track your business, if you track your stats, you could probably punch in a math equation and know exactly what you need to do, right? Similar to if you don't jump on a scale, but after the Christmas holidays, you knew you ate bigger portions because you were celebrating. You never know where your starting point is for the year, right? How could you set goals of what you want to do fitness and health-wise unless you step on the scale as one kind of way to measure it? So I would start measuring. If you look back your last 12 months, if you are an experienced agent, what is your conversion? If you haven't been tracking, that's fine. You can start today, right? The other challenge is I think there is more, what's the word? Discouragement right now, right? I think we should be very clear how we categorize what's influencing us. Discouragement can come up in various forms. Discouragement could be the Fed decided to pause rates today. CPI was higher than expected, so rates remain higher. So it means I have to wait longer for rates to come down, which means it affects all my consumers. The other type of discouragement could be I'm browsing online, I'm friends with a bunch of real estate agents, and everyone seems to be signing listings, but I got no listings. And that's probably an unhealthy thing to do, right? Because, of course, everyone posts the best things that happen on social media, but they don't post about their shitty day they had yesterday, right? So I would say you want to be very careful about what you consume, where you spend your time, and how you handle discouragement. Because discouragement will derail you for the day, for the week, and what you'll realize is what we just did as an exercise for the team is, if we don't celebrate milestones for each and every week, we tend to forget and we tend to deviate from maybe the initial goal that we had set at the beginning of the year. we have to look at these things. So now I'm thinking, okay, how can I use this as an effective way to help you guys, right? I think identifying the challenges and the problems that exist in your business or in a market could help you bring it to attention so you can make an improvement. The challenges, a lot of these things we cannot control, but really the only thing that we can control is what we do with our time. Because Deason making calls right now, he spends probably the same 8 hours that he did when he was a new agent sitting at that table looking at comps when I was a new agent, which was like many years ago now. But what we can do is we can change the course of our results in our future if we are critical on where we spend our time. So what I can say confidently is you guys are all here because you want to learn. So you're here, you're sitting here. Hopefully you take something away today. But after this meeting's over, and of course there's a team meeting after the team meeting's over, what are you doing with the second half of your day? Because if you're not critical about what you do when no one is watching, you're not going to have a really good year. Right? You're just going to go entrepreneurially and not really have control of, or at least a better way to conduct your future business. So I'll give you an example. After my lunch, intentionally, I don't eat heavy lunches because if you don't know, your stomach requires for digestion a big majority of your blood flow. So if you try to do anything productive, if you eat a heavy lunch, you won't be as effective. So down to how's my energy, what am I eating, and then of course, what am I doing with my time in the afternoon? Am I making calls? Am I writing scripts? Am I talking to my team members? Or am I, bad habit, I pull up my phone and I handle other people's priorities by just looking at email and refreshing my email, right? It makes a difference. So you want to be super critical on where you spend your time. What do you do if you're competing with other agents? Let's get into the nitty-gritty here. Who wants to role-play this with me at the consult? Who asked this question? Well, who wants to role-play this with me as if we're at the consult? Okay. Let's just say this question, where does this question come up? Beginning or end? Or middle?
Beginning, and it's like walking into a consult and they, off the bat, yeah, I'm interviewing a couple different agents too for the job.
Perfect. Actually, let's handle it at every kind of milestone at the consult so you can hear the difference in approach. So let's just say, hey, Scott, it's really nice to meet you. I'm so happy to be here. Typically what we do is do a quick walkthrough so we can assess what we're potentially working with. And then maybe the objection comes up here.
Yeah, sure. Let's do that. Let's check out the house. But hey, Wilson, just want to be transparent with you. We are interviewing a couple different agents. You're the second or third that we've talked to, but we've talked to you before.
Scott, for something this important, first I want to share a thank you that you're being transparent with me, that you're talking to multiple people. For something this important, I wouldn't doubt if I was in your shoes, heck, I would talk to 10 people. I'm not surprised, and I trust that you're doing your due diligence. I'm here today because I want to make sure that of the people you're talking to, hopefully you can see that we're really going to be a good choice. Are we going to be the best choice? I think that deserves a conversation as we sit down, so I understand what you're looking for in an agent that you decide to work with. Would that be fair to talk about that later?
Yeah.
Great. So what's a trap that most agents fall into in that moment? Why do they get defensive? A combination of all that. But here's the thing. Because you don't expect that question to come up at that moment, right? And if you don't expect that question to come up at that moment, if we don't expect something, but we need to address it, most people will fall in the trap of addressing it at that moment. But addressing it at that moment, instead of deferring it, shows that you could be insecure too, right? Because you make it bigger than what it really is. Did I make it a big deal?
No.
I just pushed it aside. We can talk about it later. In fact, I think this is a good thing we should talk about later. So in his viewpoint, when I handled it, did I address his concern? Or maybe, okay, let's back up. Why does he mention that? Why does a consumer mention that? Why do you think?
I think to be realistic, like, hey, I'm going to dedicate this hour to listen to you, but FYI, I'm like interviewing
Okay.
Maybe for you not to go for the sale so fast.
Okay. So I'm going to share with you why consumers do things, or why we do things as consumers. It's tied to what Lewis had said. They have their own fears and insecurities, just like we do for everything that we do. His fear is, I'm going to hard sell him. His fear is, I'm going to force him to sign something today. His fear is, I don't want to commit. So if that's his fear, and the question that comes out, the words that he uses is, I'm interviewing multiple agents. But we have to do a better job at understanding what is he actually saying or asking. He's saying or asking he has, I'm interpreting, his fears and insecurities around commitment. So what is the best thing a consultant can do at that very moment?
Identify the fears.
Address his fear.
There's a couple of approaches, right? Here's my best approach. Acknowledge. Appreciate the fact that he mentioned it. We'll talk about it later. And it's not a big deal. Not a big deal in the sense that, hey, look, I don't want you to feel like you have to commit to make a decision today. How did I say that? Hey, if I were in your shoes, I would interview 10 agents. That's how I addressed it. My goal at that very moment, if that question comes up in the beginning, is what? What do you guys think? Is it to get the sale?
No. Make it comfortable.
It's to make them comfortable and at ease. Because how can we really talk about business when I first shook his hand? We haven't conducted a walkthrough. I haven't even been able to express what value I can bring to the table yet. How can I address things yet? I have to show him value first. I have to show him I care first. I have to show him I'm here to spend time with him, not to force him to make a decision, right? So in acknowledgement of that, I want him to be comfortable. Because the more comfortable he is throughout that, how much time do you think this is going to take for a consult? How long do you guys take for your listing consults?
An hour.
Let's say an hour. Scott is going to conduct 3 to 10 independent 1-hour sessions with agents. How can you be memorable? Can you be memorable by being the most assertive, aggressive, forceful, hey, you got to commit to me, I'm the right agent? It might work for some people. But on average, it's not going to work. The method that usually works, at least from my experience, is if I'm the person that's able to make him most at ease, which also means I ain't one call closing unless he wants to. What's this phrase, one call close? Salespeople, you should be aware of what a one call close is. One call close means I show up for an appointment, I'm signing the listing that appointment. Take the inverse of that approach. I don't expect you to commit to anyone, Scott, including me, when I meet with you, because I want you to take the time to make the decision. I'm here to provide all the information for you to make a really good decision. I want you to think about it. When should I reach out to you so that we can chat a little bit more to see if you have additional questions or feedback from our meeting? If he's interviewing 3 to 10 people and I make him feel most at ease, guess which one is the person that he feels most comfortable calling again?
You.
Ideally. Or at least I'm one of the options, right? But if he calls me back, what do I know about him? He's eliminated some people. He called me. If I'm in the running, this is the moment I close, right? So let's say that question comes up later on in the consultation. We got 28 minutes. If it comes up later in the conversation, let's say we're sitting down at that point. Here's how I would address it. Let's role play that. Okay. Yeah, Scott, thank you so much for showing me your home. It's beautiful. Yeah, I've a couple recommendations that we talked about. Let's say we reviewed stats. This is the value. This is where we price at. This is my recommendation for what we do at the property. And let's just say at that moment you tell me.
Thanks for mentioning that. The last agent that came and visited the house, he kind of talked similar things that we could even do the light and stuff. But yeah, I just want to let you know that there are other people looking at the home and helping us with this too. We're interviewing.
I really appreciate you bringing that up. I think, Scott, would it be fair to say, if I was in your shoes as well, if you found a right agent, would you have made the decision already?
Yeah, I guess so.
I think so too. Like, I might, similar to you, do my due diligence and talk to a couple agents in this case. And I think in some cases you'll trust your gut feeling, like, hey, I think this is the right person. But also, tangibly, there's certain things that agents will do that make me feel more confident in their ability to sell. I guess without getting into the detail of what I've said, what other people have said, I want to understand what's important to you. So first, I appreciate you mentioning you're talking to multiple agents. I'm going to, if it's okay with you, just have an idea of what you're looking for by starting off with the question, what is important about selling for you, specifically for you? Because every seller is going to be different.
Yeah, I think school districts is huge. You know, my oldest child is now 7th grade, so we're hoping to get into somewhere in the next,
So we're going to cut the role play shorter, but then here's the series of questions I'm going to ask, and you can write it down. What's important about selling for you? Great. I've taken inventory of that. Based on what you've heard so far, what have you heard that you really like that agents have offered you? Great. So this is what you're expecting. Is there anything else that was not mentioned by agents that you're expecting? There isn't. Great, I wrote it down. You've met with other agents. Maybe you've heard some things that you don't really like, whether it's the marketing approach, whether it's the way that they handled the walkthrough. What are those items? I'm taking inventory of that. Is there anything that you disliked from our meeting that you want to bring up to my attention? Because I want to show you that I'm willing to have a conversation about the good and the bad, even if it's about me. Great, I took inventory of that. So I have a list of things. My first list is, what is important to you? My second list is, what have other people said that you really like, that you're expecting? My third list is, what don't you like? So here's a recipe. I understand what's important to you. I know what you expect in an agent. I know what you don't want an agent to do. So if I'm able to do all of these things and not do the things that you don't want, would you say that we could be a good fit to work together? Notice I didn't say, are you ready to sign on the listing? Would we be a good fit? Higher up the funnel, wider net, right? If he says yes, great. One last question. Have we missed anything? Is there anything else worthy that you feel appropriate to share with me today? Question for you guys. Did I talk about commission? Did I talk about price? Maybe already, but in this specific dialogue. Commission, price, market conditions, do I look good or not? Am I dressed in a suit or am I in sweats? Was my presentation, a one-page white piece of paper with notes, or was it like a full-blown stack of papers of presentation pieces? A lot of this stuff doesn't matter. What matters is he felt like he had the opportunity to share with me what's important to him. And if he didn't get that opportunity, let's say 5 out of the 10 meetings that he had, those 5 are eliminated. Because he's going to feel like I wasn't heard. Going back to the same philosophy earlier, make sure he or she feels heard, understood, had a time to be able to share what's important to him, and you probably are in the top 3 in the running. Of course, there's something of substance that you eventually need to provide to show that you could get them a better result, right? So that's what I would do when I'm competing with other agents. What do you think your average agent does? Say that objection again.
Thanks for coming over, Wilson, but just to let you know, I'm interviewing
Oh.
some other agents.
Oh, who are you talking to? Oh, damn, yeah, he's a good agent. Right? You react. Don't react. None of this shit matters. Can you control who he talks to?
No.
What can you control?
How you show up.
How you show up. What did we say earlier? How do we show up? 10 out of 10 in that moment with the skills that you have. It's not my 10 out of 10, your 10 out of 10. What does that look like? Just show up that way, you're golden. That's the best you can do in that moment, right? All right. Yeah.
So I feel like most times when sellers do mention talking to multiple agents, they also mention but this agent's going to discount commissions. And How do you get around that?
Clarifying question, does that happen early or later in the consultation?
Sometimes like in the middle, but usually like as soon as they mention interviewing multiple agents, especially if we are one of the latter agents being interviewed,
Okay.
then they'll mention it like shortly after they say that.
So I'll give you a script. Your name?
Christine.
Christine. Hey, Christine, actually just say it so we can role play the whole thing.
Sure.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me over.
Yeah, just so you know, I'm interviewing multiple agents, and a few of them have already mentioned discounting their commissions. Yeah.
I really appreciate you bringing that up to me. If I was in your shoes, I would talk to multiple people too. What I'm sure you're finding right now is different agents will offer different degrees of what you would define maybe as valuable to help you sell for more or whatever you're trying to accomplish at different fee structures. If it's okay with you when we sit down later, I would love to at least write everything down so I know what's been offered, take inventory of that, and also from what has been offered, what are people charging? Is it fair as well, if I could ask you a question, Christine, is it fair for me to say that you're not necessarily looking for the cheapest alternative? You're looking for the person that could get you the best results, right? I think a part of the results could be how much you are charged or how much the service costs, fair? But maybe you're seeking to accomplish a goal. And I know we spoke over the phone, you want to sell your home. We can get a little deeper into like, what does a 10 out of 10 sales process look like? If I could give some examples. For some people, it's the highest price they can achieve. For other people, it's managing a buy-sell process simultaneously. For other people, there's an exchange company that gets involved. For other people, it's making sure the cat doesn't get out of the door during showings. It's different for everyone, and if it's fair for us to talk about it later, can we dive a little deeper into that? Did I mention my rate?
No.
Do you think she cares that I mentioned about my rate or not at that moment? Here's where it might matter. If she is just that one consumer that cares about rate, right? Have we encountered that before?
Yes.
There's some people that just all they care about is what am I going to be charged? Here's what I'll share about that situation. Your goal at the consultation is still to show them you are the best option available because you want their decision making not to be compare rate, compare agents. You want them to go, fuck, this is the best agent. That's a reality. I've made a decision. I spoke to Wilson. He is the absolute best agent for selling my home. If I can, so putting myself back in the shoes of an agent, if I could help the consumer come to that conclusion, then I'm going to have a conversation about compensation, right? Hey, look, Christine, would it be fair to say that after our conversation, you feel like we could be a really good fit? In fact, maybe one of the better agents that could work on this project together?
Yes.
If I can get her to say yes to that, here's my next question. What is that worth to you? In your words. By the way, this is not the approach. The approach is not to be super assertive and assume that, hey, look, now I can manhandle the situation, get the fee I want. The goal is, I ask her, and I'm going to preface that. What is that worth to you? Because, Christine, here's what I know what I want to do. I've been in the industry long enough to understand that it's a combination of things that you're looking for, and it's not a one-size-fits-all, right? And maybe you've heard that from other agents previously, that they want to sell their package of services and they charge a certain amount. I'm here sitting here today with you because if we can agree that we could work together and we could be a really good fit, I want to also understand what makes sense to you financially. I didn't say specifically, I'm going to be the best agent, I'm going to be the cheapest agent all at the same time, but I want her to come to that conclusion of what does that fee structure look like, right? And here's where you have to make a decision. You're all business people. Independently, you run your own businesses. We know people, whether it's in this room or out of this room, a couple streets down, that by default they charge less, right? Is that right or wrong? It's neither. It's a business practice. What is your business practice? What are your business standards? Have you written down that on a piece of paper so when you have team members, you can share that? Because if you haven't, then yeah, every single time this moment comes up in a consultation, you're going to be like hesitant to make a decision. But if you are clear on your business standards, whether you will go below 2.5% or not, and what are the variables? It could be a little different from a one-bedroom condo in South City to a $3 million property in Burlingame, right? Have you walked through that yourself before? But hopefully that helps. 15 minutes, 16 minutes. All right, pre-listing pack, what sets you apart for a listing? I don't have to answer this question. I think it's fair to say maybe you've seen a different approach to going on listing consultation so far. Yeah, no, maybe. The approach should be consultative, not forceful. If you're consultative, you win. At least that's from my experience. Pre-listing packet. I know there's a lot of training that discusses you should bring a folder, you drop it off. Honestly, anything that I could put in a folder as a competitor in the marketplace, anything I can put in a folder could get into the hands of a competitor because they might not work with me. So for me, anything that I could put in a folder is not that valuable. So then that leads me to answer the question, do I actually drop something off if it's not valuable? I let you decide. Because everything is set up so you can have a 1 hour frickin' really good presentation so you can win the client over. So what's more valuable is not what I give them, it's what we're going to talk about. So from a pre-listing package, you can put anything in there you want, but I don't think just because you receive a stack of papers in a nice box or folder, that's going to make a decision or break a decision, at least in my opinion. But it's a nice extra step that you could do, right? But if you were to put something in a listing package, probably could be your standard things that you've thought of. Example marketing flyers, a calendar so you can mark it up when you get there, an estimate of value that could be created by NAR, RPRs, your comps. But here's a trap that happens when you give more up front than at the consultation. They could eliminate you. If you give an estimate of value before you show up and it's not what they expect, they could eliminate you then and there. So my question then becomes, and you don't have to answer in this room, do you want to provide a value in your pre-listing package? Right? You could put in your process. You can have calculations of cap gains, although, make a disclaimer, not a CPA. You can have other, I don't even know, there's stuff in there. And that's exactly what it is. It's usually stuff that it's nice, it looks nice, but your consultation is what's valuable. Picking a farm. Nowadays, if I were to pick a farm, it's no different from 15 years ago. It's purely based on, number one, is there a competitor that has a lot of market share? Because that's going to dictate how fast or how slow I'm going to experience success. That's the biggest thing I look for. Do I look for if I live there or not? If it's affluent or not? I don't care. As a business person, I'm going to pick a spot that I'm going to get listings because that's the goal. Of course, you have to like it enough that you're going to sell properties and spend time there. But honestly, here's what you should really consider. The more affluent it is, the more likely you're going to have more competition. So yeah, go ahead. You want to farm Hillsborough or Burlingame, just face the facts. You're going to have more competition. Are you ready for that? It's a business decision that you make. But if I were you, it's based on competition. I don't care about turnover rate. Of course, you have to care about if it's single family. If you guys didn't know, anything with a HOA, condos and townhomes have CC&R restrictions from solicitation. So single families are the way to go. Out of area listing. Here's why it's no different for me. I've made a decision that I show up to every listing as the expert. Now the question becomes, though, how is being the expert perceived by the individual, by the consumer? What do you think?
How many homes you saw in the area?
Usually. How often does that question come up in your consultations?
Quite often.
Okay. I'm going to give you a way to think about this. Before that comes up, is there a way you can express that you're the expert so that's an unnecessary question? Could be, right? So as much as it's, let's say for all of us, we're selling a piece of property, we have a big fat zero. We've never sold anything there. Let's just say, me too, right? As an experienced listing agent, I'm taking a listing, I've never sold anything there. My goal is to show them I am still the expert without them questioning whether I sold a property there or not, so that it doesn't come up. How do you do that? For those that know me, you know how I do it. For those that don't know me, how do you do that? What do you think?
This just showed, your experience, no, your processes,
It could be processes. What else? Broker sales could be something you leverage. What else? You can ask them what they're looking for. Here's how we do it. Everyone has access to the MLS. You can do a deep dive on stats. In fact, I can guarantee you, let's just say the property's in Burlingame. The top agent in Burlingame is not going to show up as prepared as you if you pull up a numerous amount of stats about the neighborhood, about the city, about the county, that you could overshare on. Listed sales price, days on market, inventory trends, sales trends, and of course, comps. Why did it sell for more? Why did it sell for less? You just have to come a little better prepared. You have to do your research. But I can guarantee you, the top agent in the market is typically going to go in nonchalant, think he or she has it in the bag. Yeah, I sold a lot of properties here. What do you want to know? Do you think that attitude typically works well? If you come prepared with knowing your shit and your numbers, I think you have a shot. And here's my takeaway for this situation. You walk in every appointment knowing you have a shot. What did we talk about earlier? The biggest thing that we gift ourselves is discouragement. We talk ourselves out of listings. We talk ourselves out of doing activities, eating healthy, all this stuff. You gotta believe that you have a shot. Otherwise, why would you go, right? You build that belief because you are willing to be uncomfortable in situations. You come better prepared. Whether you think it's a 10% shot or not, you give it your 10 out of 10. Cool? All right. What was the last one? Future of farming. Future of farming. Where is all the attention now? Where's everyone spending their time?
Social media.
What a shame. There's so much going on. There's sunshine. There's green leaves. There's people to talk to here, and yet we would rather just, oh my gosh, I got a like on my post. But that's a sad reality of where society is. We spend a lot of time here. If consumers' time is spent there, my answer to this question, the future of farming, farming could encompass, let's just define farming real quick. Farming is doing something consistent in front of a set of people. That's it. Sorry, I didn't end that with a sentence. Doing something consistent in front of people. Over and over again. Farming traditionally in our industry is sending postcards, is handing out flyers, right? Is hosting a picnic at the park. Is that effective? What do you guys think? You guys know anyone that does that very well? Some. Actually, a lot of top agents, they're farmers. They started as farmers, whether you see them put in the hard work now or not, they were farmers. I say this every single time. Is there another way you can consistently get in front of homeowners when you choose to? And then the kicker, in a geographic location. Because I know some people are going to say, oh, FSBOs and expireds. Yeah, but can you choose the location? Yes, you can, but how consistent will you get FSBOs and expireds? Not really consistent. So my question, what's the consistent way you can be in front of homeowners when you choose to in a geographic location? Farming. Because just because I'm on social media, which maybe some of you have seen my videos, can I say every single person that reaches out to me is a seller? I wish. We wish, maybe. But we can't. But that is the future of farming. You just got to create a lot of attention still. But farming, if we relate it to getting listings, that's really the only way, one of the few ways that you can control in a geographic location that you choose, right? But the future of attention is everything's online. In fact, if you guys pulled out all your phones, who doesn't have an iPhone here? I don't know where the function is for you, but if you go to all the way to you swipe what, right? And then you look at your time spent and the apps that you spend time on. It's going to be different and varying across everyone here, but I can almost guarantee you that you spend multiple hours per week on social media. And if you're doing it, guess what? Your consumers are doing it. Whether they're at work, being productive or not, took a break in number 1, number 2 in the restroom, got off work at the dinner table, swiping away, or watching a TV show like The Suits and having your phone in your other hand. We always have this around, right? So if we're all spending time here, how do we get in front of people? That's probably not a question we can answer with the remaining time we have today. But that is where a lot of attention is going. I think I answered most of these questions. We have 5 minutes. What else do we have? I don't even know if this is helpful. Has this been helpful? Okay. Yes?
So back to what he was asking, like in the interview, he finds out that they're interviewing other agents. Do you have a pre-qualification set of questions that you ask before you go to the interview?
Great question. I do. And it has nothing to do with, so I think a mistake that we often talk about on the phone, at least the initial call, is things that don't matter. And one of the things that don't matter is if they have an agent, who they're talking to. What does matter is what's important about talking to multiple agents and what are they looking for in an agent. So what else is not important? What else is not important? Let's just say the important things. The important things are just getting a better understanding of what this person needs help with. Motivation. But I'll teach you a trick on motivation. What's the common question that we ask?
Why are you selling?
Why are you selling? Okay, let's say my answer is, I'm moving out of area. What's your follow-up?
Time
Hmm?
frame. Time frame.
Okay.
What is it so important that for that area, right? You want to say why they.
So here's my best practice. When you ask these questions, yes, you have to ask questions. You're taking a consultative approach. But the questions you ask and how you ask it will either come across as salesy or consulty. Right? There's a difference. If you're salesy, you're going to keep asking questions to figure out if you really have an appointment, and then they're going to feel it too. Right? You should take the consultative approach. I'll give you an example based on the questions we asked so far. What is encouraging you to move right now? We're thinking about moving out of area. Have you thought about time frame? What's ideal for you? You know, even that, personally for me, I feel like is a little salesy already. And for me, if I was a consumer, I'm already leading down my framework of like, oh, this person's asking because they want to know if I have a listing sooner or later. So let me reframe that. You might ask that question. You might also say, what's the alternative? What if you could move without selling? Maybe you could rent your house out. Is that possible? What are you going to say?
No, we need the money.
You need the money, okay. So here, what did I do there?
Give him a different option than selling.
He's fearful. Think about this. Consumers, fearful, insecure. I called an agent. This guy's going to sell me. So here's what a consultative approach means. I ask questions. I help him think. I think about things he maybe didn't think about yet. If he says clearly, I need to sell because I can't afford to make the move. He's thought about it. But what does he know about me because I asked that question? I'm not focused on a sale. I'm focused on his well-being. I want the best outcome for him. With that one pivot of a question, I made it known on that phone call after 2 minutes, I'm not in it for the sale, as much as he called a sales agent. Because the way that I formulated the question made a difference on how he felt and maybe how he's going to continue the conversation with me. Right? Here's what else it could look like. Hey, look, I know you're interested in selling. You have to sell for you to make the move. Have you actually run the numbers on how much you could pay potentially in capital gains taxes? Why do I say that? Is it because I'm a tax expert? We can't say we're a tax expert, right? But I want to show him that I'm willing to think on his behalf. Here's my mindset when I'm having a conversation with him. I care about you as if you're my family member. I'm not going to talk to you as a salesperson. I'm going to talk to you as if I'm your cousin, I'm your nephew, I'm someone that cares about your situation. What would this person ask you? If that framework is better, that means my questions I formulate will be better for this situation. Are you leading the meeting today?
I sure am.
Oh, cool. I was like, where's Lyman? Cool. Was this helpful? We can only cover so much, and I know I started late. I had to pee, 55 minutes or so. I'm talking about another class, end of month on social media, actually. Who's seen some of my videos without following me?
Everybody has.
All right, cool. Yeah, I'm that guy online. I'm not wearing my glasses right now. Fun fact, there's actually no prescription to those glasses. It's just when I meet clients, I got to put on that more mature look. So, oh, no, we spoke about it with Josh. Thank you guys for being here. Have a great week.